From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell notification button. You get notified every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, happy Friday to you. It is week 6 of the NFL season.
Another Friday. Beautiful day outside here in the city of New Orleans. We have made it to Friday. A new work week has come and gone, and we inch closer and closer to a busy weekend up ahead. Saints and Texans and LSU and injury reports and all that good stuff. So, yeah, be sure to like, share, rate, review. Leave comments below. You like this new set? It's not going to be – it's still somewhat temporary. But
still in progress, yeah.
For the most part, the comments were positive about the new cozy look we have here. It's still in transition. Trust me on that.
It's better than that big table with the tablecloth.
Yeah, you're going to love the final result when it finally comes to fruition, which I'm happy to say are in the plans and they're in the works. So that should happen hopefully sometime soon. But, yeah, Sil, so – some interesting developments over at Saints camp this week, and so let's dive right in.
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of telling me about it off air when we were discussing what we were going to fill the show with content with today, and it's a dynamic with the offensive line right now for the Saints.
Yeah.
And it has to do with Trevor Penning and James Hurst. So you know more about it than I do, so let's just jump right into it.
Well, first off, let me just say, didn't see it coming. Out of left field, didn't really see it, but there has been rumblings, there has been talk, there has been chatter about the potential change at left tackle with Trevor Penning, I guess either getting benched and Hurst getting moved out to left tackle. And then if that were to happen, Andrus Peat would obviously be the left guard, but Andrus Peat is now questionable with a groin injury. So I don't know, but it's rare, Sil, that, when something like this kind of develops, I just didn't see it coming. In fact, 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay, I went on my way to tweet how much I felt like Trevor Penning was improving. And then when I heard this and saw this and just sort of, things kind of pop up, it's just rare that I would miss someone struggling that bad, in particular a former first-round pick, in particular one that's had a lot of eyeballs on him, in particular at that position. So you know what I did? I went back and watched every single snap of Trevor Penning from last week, and I even texted Deuce. I was like, dude, I got to get you to sit down with me and see what I'm missing here, because I don't see a guy that's struggling. I don't see a guy that's getting beat badly when it comes to run blocking. I see a guy that probably has a little ways to go in pass blocking, but even that has been somewhat improved over the last couple of weeks, at least improved enough to where, like, we did a whole pod on this last pod, how it felt like it was the first time I felt like Derek Carr and the offensive line were in sync.
Yeah. They
were meshing. So, yeah, I was surprised. I was caught off guard. Now, look, the Saints know more than we do. Okay, the Saints know more than we do, and there could very well be things within each call, within each play call, what you're not privy to by watching the film. There could be certain things in certain situations. Maybe I do know the only thing that I really noticed was that they were running more to the right instead of the left, which is where he obviously was. They ran a lot of outside zone stuff, and I even wrote a couple times about how it felt like he was really finishing blocks well in the run blocking part of the game, especially when it came to outside zone. They didn't run a whole lot to the left. Does making a switch potentially, we don't even know if it's going to happen, but potentially making a switch allow you to use both sides, become a little more ambidextrous? I don't know. But look, it's professional sports. If you feel that way, so be it. I just would have thought that would have come probably after week 1 or week 2, as opposed to what I felt like was one of the offensive line's best games. And in particular, I didn't feel like he was terrible. And I truly felt like he was improving as an offensive lineman in the NFL, and he was growing a little bit. So I don't know where they stand with that. I'm sure the Andrus Peat potential injury, could certainly complicate things. But, there was a clip from a radio show out there talking about he's the biggest weakness on the team. I just simply do not agree with that. I do not agree that Trevor Penning is the biggest weakness on this team. If the Saints coaches feel like making the switch is for the best thing for the organization, by all means do it. But I don't see it. I don't see where he all of a sudden became, after one of their best offensive performance, all of a sudden he's now the marked man and he's the biggest weakness, and now they have to move on from a guy that you invested a lot in. So we'll see how that develops. Maybe his future is at the inside at guard. If you really watch the way he plays, it's probably the way he's more of a mauler, the way his feet are, his footwork are. Maybe he's a little less exposed on the inside. I don't know, but it was one of those topics that really caught me off guard. In fact, I was on the show you fill in on Thursdays, the Sports Hangover, and Gus asked me about it earlier today, and he said, "Man, just help me out." I said, "I wish I could," because honestly, I had seen a guy that felt like he was making modest improvement, but I didn't think he was one that was just playing bad football to the point where he had to be benched. But if that's the way they're going, and we don't know that, we must reiterate that we don't know that. But obviously, when it's become this big of a topic during the week, coming off the game they just played, obviously we're going to talk about it. And to be honest with you, we did that whole podcast, and I guess was that Wednesday, and I guess it kind of popped up Wednesday. Maybe it was just so not on my radar. And going back and watching it wasn't like I found a lot more. Like meticulously went through. I was like, man, maybe I'm not grading this right. Maybe there's something here I'm just not seeing, because I didn't see a guy that was really, really bad or really struggled at. I see a guy that's growing, or see a guy that's trying to improve, trying to fit in, trying to help his team. So it was an interesting development. And look, if they do make the move and they feel it's best, it has to work, because we just spent the whole podcast talking about how Derek Carr and his offensive line have to be on the same page, because it wasn't for the first 4 weeks and it finally was last week. So if they feel like this gets a better overall, a little more juice to the offense, absolutely. And make no mistake about it, everyone needs to be under evaluation when the offense has been pretty anemic through 5 games, other than last week, and even that was somewhat of a it was a good game, but it wasn't one of those where you're gonna put on the resume reel, so to speak. So all in all, it was just one of those stories, and it rarely happens this much of a surprise in season, because you kind of can see certain things coming.
Yeah.
But it got me this week. So but that's just where I stand with it. I feel like he has improved, and I by no means feel like he's the biggest weakness on the team.
It's just weird that we were talking about the biggest weakness on the team being the offensive play calling, and then as soon as the Saints win 34-0, it immediately shifts back to the offensive line. Like, it's not the play calling anymore; it's just the individual player.
And they're not coming off a game where they got shut out.
Yeah,
they shut out the opponent.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like offensively. I mean, it was their best performance.
Offensively, yeah, they put up 27 points offensively.
Yeah. Look, again, we are not. There could very well be certain things, certain calls, certain communications, certain things. Maybe there's certain plays where there's an audible, or a certain thing where he's just maybe picking up the wrong guy. And in fact, there were a couple times he got, a pass rusher got under his pads a little bit in pass rush, but he kind of recovered a little bit. I don't know, man. So if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And again, we'll see where it goes from here. But it rarely happens this far into a week, like that big of a change, because, like I said, and I know I'm not alone here, I wasn't the only one that saw a guy that was on the struggle bus in week 1, little bit better in week 2, started to find his footing in week 3, week 4, to the point where I tweeted out how much I felt like he was improving. In week 5, he didn't do anything to make me lose any confidence, but I guess somewhere along the line, it's possible he could have lost some confidence, or the coaches could have lost some confidence in him. So I guess we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, we'll find out on Sunday. And speaking of Sunday, we got our final injury report of the week, and we will get our inactive report on Sunday. So quite a few DNPs here on Friday for the Saints, and we know a couple of 5 of these guys have already been ruled out. Juwan Johnson, Lonnie Johnson, Adam Prentice, JT Gray, and Landon Young all out for Sunday's contest against the Houston Texans. And then, of course, we had a few full practices with Cam Jordan, Chris Olave, James Hurst, and Derek Carr. And then one questionable who was a DNP as well, Andrus Pete. So concussion and groin. Did not know he was in concussion protocol.
That was from a couple weeks ago, right? So now it says
apparently
he hurt his groin. It had to have been at some point between yesterday and today.
Yeah, because he was full practice.
He didn't practice
Wednesday and Thursday.
That's the other thing. It's like if you're gonna, so if there was hypothetically now, if there was a Hurst, Pete, McCoy, Ruiz, Ramczyk, that's last year's offensive line, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. Pete's in that process. Pete's already hurt again, so he's questionable at best to play, which means there could be another adjustment. I don't know, man. I don't know. So we'll see how that plays itself out. You know, a sneaky one there is Prentice, because there's some personnel flexibility he gives you. There's some things that he does from a blocking standpoint, run and pass, that can certainly be beneficial. And with him out, J.P. Holtz has been on the practice squad, signed back this week. I would assume maybe he gets elevated, or someone else could possibly get elevated, or you just don't run that 21 base personnel with the traditional fullback. And then look, another week without Juwan Johnson. So so you're kind of fullback, tight end. So your tight end room, your fullback, it's a little bit of a you might have to juggle a little bit, some personnel groupings and some things just to get enough production from each position.
Yeah, and I was also looking at the Texans side of things here. They got 3 guys questionable. Tank Dell, who was in concussion protocol the first couple of days of the week, he was limited in practice today, which is huge if he does play on Sunday. He's been C.J. Stroud's favorite target throughout the season so far. And then they're also possibly getting back Robert Woods, who's coming back from a ribs injury. He's questionable as well. And then Laramie Tunsil, what do they have him now? Still tackle. Okay, he's doesn't have a game status right now, so it looks like he's going to play too. So,
was it Nico Collins questionable?
Nico Collins, no. Nico Collins isn't on here.
No designation.
No designation at all.
Okay.
So, the Texans are getting healthy at the right time too. It seems.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of a wide receiver.
Noah Brown.
No, I'm thinking of a wide receiver. It was oh my goodness, that was wrong. That was the wrong name. I apologize. It was
you're good, dude.
Tank Dell. That's what I was talking about. He's questionable. Yeah, that's
I mentioned him.
Yeah, you did. Okay, all right. I got the names confused there. I apologize.
You're good.
Okay, so he's questionable because he was a guy that they liked. All right. So we'll see. Matchup wise, it looks like the Saints will have a few guys out, and we'll see what happens with the Texans guys, if they're going to be able to play or not. But look, it's October, man. The injuries are going to start piling up.
Absolutely,
so it's just the way it goes.
A matchup between the one team that loves to use the middle of the field against the team that hasn't been able to use the middle of the field so far this season.
We'll see. And then look, they got a few elaborate things that they do offensively, motion with it's very Kyle Shanahan-esque. I mean, I think their offensive coordinator is a disciple of that Shanahan tree. So there's a lot of that, and obviously it helps. I mean, it's helped. So it should be a fun matchup. But I think the Saints defense can keep that offense at bay. I really do.
Any last thoughts as we head into the weekend, Sean?
Should be a fun weekend. Nice easy drive to Houston. We're driving this time.
Tulane here on a Friday. Tulane
on a Friday. LSU playing Auburn. So I got asked about that as well. I think keep Jaden upright. I think they got a chance because Auburn can't score, and I think it's a good get-back game for that pass defense. So I think LSU pulls away late and possibly even covers. I'm not a betting guy, but I think they possibly even cover the 11-point spread. So should be a fun weekend up ahead, and I'll be looking at that Saints offensive line come Sunday because that one caught me way off guard. So.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, hit the bell notification button. You get notified every time we upload a new podcast. Send in your questions. Final Word feature on the Final Play app. We will read those off on Mondays. And for Sean Fazende, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys next time.